Namaste. Are we on? Are we live?
Yes.
Hello, loves.
All right.
There.
So anyway, so this week, Faye is away, and Faye and I weren't able to go live last week, and I've been really chomping at the bit to, go live, hang out with you guys. And there's been so much going on in the world, but because I'm super insecure, I brought my daughter along.
I'm always in the background anyway, so like we might as well. It was getting kind of sad. Everyone was tired of just hearing me talk in the background.
So anyway, this live at 8:00, I'm gonna have wheels on, and my daughter and I decided to go on early.
Yeah.
And just girl talk.
Hi, Auntie B.
Auntie
Okay.
B.
Auntie B, I love you. You're my role model.
Hi, Jeannie. So yeah, impromptu live. Jeannie Faye's away. This is my daughter. We call her Birdie, and I kind of dragged her in tonight. I've always wanted to do a live with Faye's children and my older children to talk to these young people what it's like having been raised by a crazy conspiracy theorist truther.
And one normal parent. No, I'm joking.
Wait, who's the normal parent?
There isn't. I made it up.
Maybe someday. So yeah, I mean, let me ask you a couple questions. How do you feel about the moon landing?
I don't really care. I don't really care about the moon landing. They could have gone to the moon. I feel like it's really nice for like the little people. Okay, little people. But, the people back then, they need some patriotism. They need something to get them excited, fighting the Russians. So I feel like it's like...
You're just explaining what propaganda is.
I liked the propaganda. Okay. I think it made them happy. I'm joking, but I don't really care, honestly, about the moon landing. I think it could have. I don't really know. I don't really know if it did happen, but I don't care if it did or if it didn't. I know that you think
fair
it
enough.
didn't.
Fair
I know
enough.
you think it didn't. I know that there's evidence I didn't. I know that there's way more evidence I didn't, but I just think I don't really mind either way.
Yeah, but what's your opinion?
My opinion is they couldn't make it past the Orion's belt.
Not Orion's belt. You mean the oh man, what's it called?
What?
What's it called?
I don't know. I would have said it.
Oh my god. Van Allen's belt.
Google.
No, leave Google out of it.
I'm joking.
You're so shrill. It's called the Van Allen's belt. But anyway, so yes. So basically what you're saying is you've heard both sides of the story because your mother
And now I'm burnt out.
Yeah, that's understandable. All right. What about flat Earth?
Again, don't care.
What do you care? Okay. What do you care about?
Okay, guys. So there's this boy. No, I'm kidding. Okay, flat Earth. So flat Earth, I see, like, I've read the Old Testament, all the arguments for flat Earth, and I've heard the arguments against it, and it just seems like there's so many reaches for the flat Earth theory, where there's a lot of jumps that have to be made.
Okay.
And they're like, well, there's evidence in this, but then it's like quite a stretch. And I feel like the Earth could be flat. I feel like if I died, I've heard you say this before, if I died and I was going up to heaven,
God willing.
It's happening.
It is. We're manifesting it.
Yeah, okay. I wouldn't care if I was going up to heaven and the Earth was flat or the Earth was round. Not just because I was going up to heaven. If I know right now for sure, going into space.
All right. What's your least favorite thing that I talk about? As far as conspiracy, I'm sure you could think of a million things that you hate that I talk about. But as far as conspiracy theories go, or conspiracy theories, what's your least favorite?
The time when you used to talk about the lizard people.
The lizard people? Why was that your least favorite? I feel like that's the tamest.
That one's tame, but I just didn't like that one very much. It just seemed really dumb. And when I was little, it freaked me out.
Mm-hmm. I feel like your brother...
talking about the lizard people that pretend to be human.
Yeah, I feel like your brother was more terrified when I was in my Nearaboo stage.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
no, that's he still talks about that. What's always coming but never here.
the go down.
Yes.
That's what my son made up.
No, that was me.
You made that up?
Jude stole it.
That was pretty good. So, yeah. So, I mean, you're out there and you're in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have a job, even though you're homeschooled and things like that. But you have a job. You play sports. Can you relate to your peers having been raised the way you were raised?
Yeah, I can relate to my peers. I just think that they do a lot of things that are completely just like outlandish, and their moral compass seems to be a little bit skewed.
You can say that louder.
People can hear that.
Yeah.
But no, I just feel like their moral compass is a little bit skewed, and I can definitely relate to them. They're still people, they're still kids my age, and you can tell that. But just some of the stuff that they talk about and everything, it's just kind of,
Yeah.
a little bit off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in comparison to the way that you were raised, especially like what is one thing, especially morally, that you see?
Cheating on tests. It's a big thing that they talk about all the time. Like, oh, I cheat all the time. And there was one girl on my team who was like, I've never cheated on a test my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Even okay, we're gonna have confession hour, guys. I did cheat on a test in 4th grade. It was a math test, and it wasn't actually a test, but it was on my math, and I used a calculator, and it took me longer than it would usually, so it wasn't worth it.
Cheating on a test, but don't you think that's because the way that like school is now, it's set up where it only is like what your grades are,
Yeah.
So, and it's so easy to cheat. It's so easy to kind of like fake it, because it's all just about grades, and it's not about actual intelligence and what you've actually learned.
Yeah, and people like teachers, if you did really bad on a test, they kind of back then, they'd be like
they're breaking down the door, literally.
Our house is haunted. But if teachers back then, you do terrible on a test or something, they knew that you knew the material, they'd kind of cut you some slack, maybe like help you out. But like now, they don't care as long as you get the right grade. They don't care if you cheated. They don't care if they if you don't understand it at all. As long as you got the grade, they're just like throw their hands up, even if it's obvious you didn't know the material.
You know why that is? Because
they don't care anymore. No passion.
No. I think there are a lot of passionate teachers. No, it's because that the teachers are ranked on the students' grades.
Oh yeah, in schools, schools just want.
So it's almost like the entire system is so corrupt. It's like, even though I know that these kids are selling themselves short by cheating on a test, but it's like that's all that matters.
Yeah.
It has absolutely nothing to do with integrity, the information that you've acquired. So anyway, another moral thing.
Yeah. Okay, moral thing. So there's the cheating on tests. I don't want to say the other thing just because I don't feel like talking about it.
Okay, just everybody's a bunch of hosts.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's fair. Fair thing to say. Yeah, that, and then my team is really good, but I know kids at my job who are stoners, and they talk about it, and they're like so proud. They're smoking in the like they smoke sometimes at work where the cameras aren't, so nobody sees, and they're talking about it, and it's like, yeah, that's right, I'm a stoner. I got my my vape from this place, and they didn't even card me, stuff like that.
Yeah, but I want to grow weed.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, they're little kids.
They are young.
They are young. And they're talking about smoking weed and skipping class.
Oh, isn't she such a good girl?
Stop.
You're such a good girl. I sheltered you so perfectly well.
I'm just saying that they could do better things with their day than this at like 15 and 16.
Yeah, you hate smoke though. Even if I spark up, even before we went live, I was having a quick drag of a cigarette, and she started going, CPS. I was like, good thing you're not doing that on camera. People.
I'll reenact it.
No,
I'll reenact
don't.
it for everyone.
Don't. Please don't.
Okay, what else?
Go ahead. Whatever.
No, you have to prompt me. I'm the guest on the show.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of prompts, we've been playing with that chatbot, Chat GPT.
Yeah.
Tell me, what do you think?
So you guys know Pride and Prejudice, Mr. Darcy, and then you know Scarlet Pimpernel, Mr. Percy. So I told the chatbot to write a story with them meeting, and that's what I forced this search engine bot to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on. What do you like overall? So you're writing stories.
Yes.
And you give it a prompt. It writes the story, but then you'll be like, "Can you continue?" And it loses the plot.
It does. It loses it a lot. It keeps wanting to restart something with like the basic idea or something. Like it doesn't continue the story that you told it to.
Yeah.
It'll reuse the prompt usually.
Yeah. All right. Let's think of another crazy way that I raised you. So flat Earth, we've already talked about. The moon landing,
Yeah.
JFK. Oh no. Before
Was...
that. Oh no. You have an opinion? Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that was more Fulton. I remember you guys watching it, and you're like, you can't watch this.
Yeah, but
his head blows up.
Well, I'm talking about the conspiracy theory attached to it.
I kind of like the Twin Towers one more.
Yeah, but you can't really talk about that on YouTube. We have to be really careful. So you do believe that 7-Eleven, as Faye refers to it, was something other than what the official narrative. And keep in mind, hold on.
Fun to think.
No. Fun.
Well,
don't clap. It's just because if people are wearing headphones, it hurts their ears. Anyways, this is my daughter's first time out. Out on the internet.
Guys, I can help.
Actually, that's not true. She does have her own YouTube channel, and we won't talk about. Oh, she's side glancing me.
I didn't.
I'm not allowed to talk about it.
Okay, guys. So you know how you all go through phases. Well, that happened, and now it's just like a time capsule. Okay. So.
Yeah, but okay. So but what? Okay, the Mandela effect.
Okay, Mandela effect. Okay, so I feel like there are a lot of things where people think that they see something. A bunch of different people think that something's a certain way, and then it ends up.
You keep clapping.
I'm sorry. Mwah. And then ends up not being a certain way. And I feel like that's just like human experience. People make errors, and people can make errors different. I'm not saying it's not true, but some of the explanations for it, like universe shifting or something like that, I feel like that's dumb. But
you don't like it's not the universe, it's a dimensional shift.
Phasing through dimensions.
Yeah. But like people like Carl Sagan even talked about like all these different dimensions, and even though
I prefer the idea of different dimensions and multiverses. I feel like that's a cool thing. Power might go out. But I just don't think that's very probable, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. And then like the other theories for it, that it's like intentionally trying to mess things up, and maybe people like messing with the search engines and stuff. So you look something up. What was one? How's the thinker? And it was like this.
The thinker is this or this, and then there's the Ford one, the pigtail on the Ford symbol. There's so many of them. You remember the day that I found out about the Mandela effect, and it was the JFK car.
Yeah.
That's why I started with the JFK car, because
I knew you were gonna ask that. I remembered that. You thought it was 4-passenger, and it ended up being 2. Was that it?
No, 6.
6-passenger? You thought it was 6-passenger?
No, I remember it being a 4-passenger, and it turned out to be a 6-passenger.
What was it like? Where people like
you see you are even confused. You're like, wait, how is that? So it's basically a limousine. So it had 2 people in the front.
Yeah, and
then 2 seats like this, right?
Like sideways, or was it
like facing each other, like in a limousine, right?
Yeah, okay, I can see that, I guess.
No, you're trying to imagine it, because even to you, you're like,
how do I imagine?
Okay, I don't know how to think about this. Hold on. Do I go like this to think about this, or this, or this? But so the JFK thing, and it was the day before that I had watched a documentary on the assassination. And you remember I called my parents, your grandparents, about it, and they both had two different recollections.
I didn't remember that part.
That's a fact. I've talked.
No, I didn't remember that they had two different recollections.
Yes,
but yeah,
one remembered the two. Well, it would be a 4-seater, and the other one remembered the 6-seater.
For some reason, I always thought, for some reason I thought it was a 2-passenger, and then there were the two people sitting on the back like astronauts. Fritz, you know that?
Hold on, say it again. I didn't understand.
I thought that it was like a car, like a 2-seater car, really long on either side, and like two. No,
a 4-seater. You mean?
No, I thought that they were sitting on.
two-seater?
I thought they were like sitting on the trunk part. I thought it was like.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, I thought it was like astronauts, how they sit on like the trunk part of the car with their feet inside the part where other people sit.
The astronauts do
You know
that?
how like in TV shows or something, or like old videos of parades, there's the astronauts and they're sitting on the back of the car.
What the hell is happening here?
It's fine. It's fine. It's
the astronauts sitting on the back of a car.
I might be telling a joke. I might be telling a joke right now.
That was a joke, stupid.
No. I mean, I might be telling somebody else's joke, thinking that that was a thing. We're gonna move on, gang. Okay, gang.
I'm like a little weirded out by the astronauts.
The astronauts, you know how they sit on the back of the car because they're too cool to ride inside. And there's a lady right there.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So, all right. So, in what you were thinking about is that John and his wife were sitting on like the trunk part of the car.
Yeah.
All right. Well, nobody thought that ever.
I did apparently. Okay.
But so to your point, memory. You were saying it's a memory thing.
Well, I clearly just didn't know what I was talking about. Let's not give me too much credit.
Yeah, but that's so weird. No, that's not a thing. So anyway, the argument is between a 4-seater and a 6-seater.
And a 2-seater with astronauts.
Yeah, 2-seater with astronauts sitting on the trunk. Wait,
then there's
were they sitting with the president and his wife, or
their feet were like touching?
That's so weird. It's almost like what you took is the entire 1960s like propaganda and just shoved it into a car.
And then they went to the moon and the earth was round.
Right. Anyways, hold on. Till like 10 years later. Yes, and with it, with the footage, there's missing frames. So you know how like if you look at old
how it's like you can kind of see the frames and then it will jump.
Yeah, it's basically like individual pictures, right?
Yeah.
Like a flip book. That's how it used to be filmed. And
I mean, it kind of still is. They're just faster and more pictures.
Yeah, and it's digital. You can't like.
No.
So anyway, so there's actually missing frames from the
so they physically
official
took the frames and took it out.
Yes, and they were like, "Oh, it's too graphic." It's like, wait, I can still see his head being blown apart.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Exactly, it's such a crapshoot. Hold on, let's see this.
Being undead, being made alive.
Hold on, before we move on to that, that's another thing. Thank God we're not monetized.
Yeah,
because people who are monetized have come up with the stupidest way of expressing things, like, oh, they were undead.
Made unalive.
No, they unalived themselves. Like, people dancing around the algorithm now, it's like the algorithm's just trolling you at this point.
The algorithm doesn't love you. You can't make him love you.
It's embarrassing. So let's see. I think the whole conversation conclusively disapproves. See, he feels as if we have reached a conclusion here where it has disproved it. But even
I think we have. I think we just proved that everybody's an idiot and you can't trust them. And they think they know what they're talking about, but they really don't. They made it up.
Hold on, you're not an idiot.
They're reciting a joke that they heard.
But you know what? I have noticed with some Mandela effects, but I'm a pretty strong proponent of the Mandela effect. I
Mhm.
do wonder if it's the dimensional shifts.
I
know
don't know.
you
I
don't.
feel like the dimensional shift is fun though. Like I'd like to believe that.
Right. And also, is it a compression of time where now, like, you know how this is crazy, and I'm only using this to explain a concept. Okay, so they talk about the Big Bang theory, which
Yeah.
I don't believe in, but the universe expands.
Yes.
I think it's not the universe expanding. I think what they're describing is the expansion of time. And now they're like, oh, the universe has now reversed and it's going like this. Now, I'm a flat earther, so I don't believe in, this and this. But I'm just saying, it's almost like, is time becoming more compacted the closer we get to what people would refer to as the end times, that everything's getting jumbled. So that's the second concept.
Well, then where are the zombies that are supposed to be in this multiverse, Mama? Okay, I was supposed to have
No.
There's supposed to be at least one that I had superpowers in. Okay,
No,
we've been waiting for that one.
It turns out life is really boring. So it's like, are we seeing the compression of time so much so?
Cool. That's cool.
Thank you.
No, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah. So it's like things are getting jumbled, and it's like, instead of us going from, shifting from, like, when you're asleep.
Yeah.
And you go into your dream world.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you have reoccurring dreams, and there's some things in your dreams that are familiar, right?
Okay.
And then you wake up and you're back in this reality.
Mm-hmm.
But what if there was a place in between, almost like how the Matrix?
The Twilight Zone.
No.
No.
almost like how the Matrix makes the whole deja vu. You remember?
Okay.
You remember the Matrix, the movie?
Yes.
All right. How they made it deja vu. Oh, you're having deja vu. But what if you could have that experience and you're wide awake, but then you're going almost into.
I hate deja vu. I hate deja vu.
Yeah, but everybody's experienced.
Okay, deja vu. I'm very curious on deja vu because
Yeah.
there are certain people who give me deja vu every time I talk to them. There's this one kid on my team, and I don't know what it is. Every single conversation I have with her gives me terrible deja vu, like where you get dizzy. It's so bad.
Yes.
Like, this one kid on my team. It's so weird.
Yes, and you've told me that before. Mm-hmm. What is she, a star seed? Is she a star seed? Is she a star child? Why is this girl so, like, I don't want to say triggering to you in a bad way, but
she triggers me, guys. She makes me feel uncomfortable.
No, but not conventionally triggering
you. Unsafe.
But there's something about her that makes you go into that.
Yeah.
It's almost like, is she help you jump? Is she a portal? I don't know. If you want to talk about multi-dimensions, I can get crazy, as my daughter knows.
She's so plain, guys. She's so plain. Every conversation we have is so uneventful and so basic that I've had it a million times before.
No, that would be your conversations with me. Yeah, no, I really think there's a lot to be said about, like, you're having supernatural experiences and they make you uncomfortable. So therefore, you're trying to just be like, oh, forget it. Let's make a joke of it. It's all.
I'm a deeply spiritual person. My yoga, every day I get up. But 20 laps in the pool of yoga. No?
Oh my God, you don't do yoga in a pool.
I was being outlandish.
But yeah. So I think at your age, it's really interesting because there are people that kind of come into your life, and there's things that when you're my age, you're going to look back on the experience that you're having with this girl who always gives you deja vu. And you're going to be like, what was that? But right now, you just want to make a joke about it and just be like, she's just boring.
What? I'm not going to start like talking to her a million times, being like, get a chart. And I'm going to be like, this time.
Why not? People keep dream journals and things like that. It's not that crazy. It's like, maybe you should kind of focus. I know she has to work tomorrow.
No, I yawn when I get cold. It's fine.
Are you cold? There's
not that cold.
All right. Anyway, Wheels is going to come on soon. But I'm so happy that you agreed to come on with me. because people have this idea that you get a child,
All right.
or
So you get one. The stork comes.
right, and it drops the baby down the chimney,
and then
or
Santa.
and then shut up, and leaves your baby. So you get the baby.
Yeah.
No matter how it happens, there's a baby.
So,
and that you can just like almost like make a clone of yourself. And it to me, having 8 children,
8 clones.
They're not clones. You just proved it. You think that half the crap I say, you're like, yeah, but at the very least, what is the pro of being raised by somebody like me and then having the balance of somebody like your father?
Okay, so definitely it's not like I get 2 different sides and I can just, determine. It's not like being fed the same thing. Like, I don't know how to explain this. Like, there's some people who get surrounded by one belief. Their friend group all believe the same thing. They believe the same thing as their family and everything. And they get so trapped into this belief. And then somebody comes along and presents something different and they get defensive because you're attacking their childhood, their family, their friends. And so they don't listen. And they get like really defensive and angry and everything. That's why we have all these angry people who can't like debate or anything because you're attacking like their life,
their identity.
By attacking a belief. And I feel like I've kind of avoided that.
You don't have to laugh through it. You've avoided that. You can listen to the things. So you're going out into the world, God willing, I don't want to be superstitious.
And then I'd be an old maid and I live here forever because I never went out to the world because you jinxed it.
No, but so you go out into the world and you have kind of an alternative. Yeah. Alternate. I was like, wait,
reality.
No.
Mandela.
You have an alternative thinking. Going out into the world, you're open to more ideas. And it's funny because Wheels is here, and Wheels was talking about this, listening to people's perspective. So when you go out into the world and you meet somebody who literally stands against everything you believe, let me ask you this, how does it make you feel?
Kind of in, I don't know. I feel like they kind of I don't really react that much. I just kind of in my mind, I'm like, geez, this person needs to calm down or something like that. Like, usually the things that they believe are pretty dumb.
I'm gonna add Wheels on.
Okay, I'm just gonna like. Just like they're kind of dumb. That's the thing that I think in my head.
But you let them finish their thought.
No, yeah, I don't jump on them. I'm like, no. Something like that. I'm like, okay, I'll hear them, but in the back of my mind while they're talking, I'm gonna be calm, low thing, but I'm gonna be getting annoyed deep down because they're being really dumb.
All right. Anyway, hey Wheels.
Hey, how's life?
It's good. I had my daughter come on with me a half an hour early because one of the things that I've always wanted to do is talk. Like, people have this idea that they're going to have like children and they're going to turn out like them. So my daughter is here to dispel that myth.
Her hopes.
No, all my hopes still, all my eggs are still in this basket, but
oof. I just felt 7 little hearts break.
All my children. So anyway, this is my daughter Wheels. She's about to leave because she has to work tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Nice to meet you. I'm one of the other conspiracy theorist crazy people that your mom talks to.
Yeah, I've heard of you.
You've literally heard me and Wheels keeping you up all night at times.
Yeah, and then I told Maisie to bang on the wall.
I would personally like to apologize. I'm in California, to be fair. So if you were kept up by me, just know I'm 3 hours behind you guys.
Okay.
No.
I mean California. I'm getting some PTSD up in here.
Yeah, she hated California. We were in the LA area.
It's Clownifornia. Clownifornia. That's what it is.
You've just taken a swig, so
anyway, So hold on, Wheels, I feel like both of you just threw me under the bus, like, oh, sorry, I'm 3 hours behind. I'm
Yeah, so
not.
All right,
somebody
you
else.
know what?
I'm not
To
3 hours
be
behind.
fair though, I'm gonna be really fair to Mary. At one point when I did live on the East Coast, to be fair, we did bond over our ability to stay up at like really
Wow.
nutty hours. Like there would be some chats that we would all be on where we would not stop until 4 in the morning.
Wow, it kind of just
It's
sounds like
like
he doesn't have anything to do the next day.
Get out. All right, go to bed. Thank you. Thank you so much for thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
She's telling too many of my secrets.
I'll be remembered. Okay. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no, I won't forget. I'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's Mary's daughter, the one that banged on the wall banging on the walls telling us to shut
I'll
up
bang
right
on the
now."
wall for you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
I'll have Macy kick the wall for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Literally.
All right. Bye bye.
All right, thanks, Birdie. Love you lots. All right, hold on. Let me fix this here because I hate when my background is like that. Anyway. All right. Hey, Wheels.
How's it going?
I don't even know what to talk about. Like,
I
there,
don't know either.
I heard there's been a balloon spotted, Wheels. We have had a sighting of a balloon out there. You've heard
Oh
this,
boy.
right?
I'm not 100% sure.
You
Pardon me.
haven't heard about the Chinese spy balloon over
Oh
the.
yeah, 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 that. I was Jesus Christ. Okay. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Have you had any time to read up on this
Not
massive
not
distraction?
not really. Um so the main thing that I have been focusing on, because China is China. I don't know what people think about China, but to me it's just another bureau of the New World Order. Doesn't really
Okay.
matter because, like, to me, when I look at China, the US media, the mainstream media loves China.
Mhm.
We all know this. They love China. They love they love their responses to things, but at the same time they also love to hate on them. They are like, "Oh, look at this social credit score thing. Isn't that scary? And isn't this scary?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, bruh. Aren't you like about to go do the same thing here? Shut up." You know.
Yeah.
I like it.
Right.
So with China, I tend to just look at it like, "Oh, look, it's the media's favorite scapegoat for their tyrannical crap."
That's interesting because I did hear somebody say earlier today, like, if this was from that country over there in Eastern Europe, the other country, that people would be up in arms. It's like, I don't know. I don't know, Wheels. I was talking to my brother earlier tonight about this whole balloon situation. It's so ridiculous. It's I think an actual satellite got too close, and they're like, "Oh, it's a balloon." It's like, so I don't know if you know this, Wheels. I don't believe that satellites are what they tell us they are. It's like, I think it's a dying Chinese satellite that happened to come down into a low enough atmosphere that people could see it. And now they're like, "Oh, what's this all about?" But anyway, I know that's crazy conspiracy theory, but that's where kind of where I'm at. My husband's not having it, so I'll talk kind of more mainstream on.
So, I'm just looking at that type of thing, and so for me specifically, and you might have noticed this about me a little bit when I do post things. Like, I try really hard to not get lost in the noise of like whatever is in the news
Okay, yeah.
cycle at that moment, unless it's something I can make a point with, because I feel like there's so much noise all the time, and there's the next distractions, there's the next distraction, and whenever I look at the news, I'm like, Okay, so what is this distracting me from? Like, or what, or why is this being pushed? I mean, could that balloon thing, and there's always a bunch of angles you can look at this stuff from, right? Like, for example, could the balloon thing be the normalization of drones in the sky? Could it be like, it could be any number of things. Like, I could see that being the normalization of spy drones in the sky. I could see that being a distraction. I could see it being any number of things.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, it's just more getting us to look away from what's going on here to, like, oh, look at China and they're all their weird spying and stuff, and we're gonna
All right.
pretend. Yeah.
Distractions. I'm sorry, I lost you for like a good probably 30 seconds there. We're having a wicked windstorm here.
Oh, I thought
So,
you got me
yeah.
relieved then, because I was thinking it was gonna be like, oh, I lost you, and then I'm gonna have to be like, okay, or is there something on my computer right now that's gonna glow in the dark now, or what? Um, yeah.
No,
So
literally the wind is howling outside. But as far as distractions, okay. Um this is what I was
I
talking to
was
my brother
thinking.
about. Go
I
ahead.
think
Go ahead. Joe.
I'm sorry, you might have lost me for this part, but I was
Sure.
saying about the um the angles. There's so many angles you can look. Like, I was noticing that, like, when I was about to stream the other day, I was just like, God, but there's so many angles you can look at this from. Like, it could be distraction, it could be normalization of spy drones in the sky. It could be like all kinds of stuff like that.
Yes.
It could be both. It could be both. It could be like, oh, some goofy. It could be like, oh, some goofy Chinese spy thing, and then now you got people thinking about, like, now you got the idea that there's things that you can fly in the sky that spy on you.
Oh my god,
Just
but we have spy satellites. This is what makes no sense about this narrative.
mm,
You know what I'm saying? So let me just quickly say this. So I was talking to my brother earlier, and my brother was saying to me, he's like, "Oh, distraction. What don't they want us to see?" And it's like, once again, I go back to this often as a conspiracy theorist. Conspiracy theories take time. It's not always knee-jerk reactions. And
uh-huh.
we don't know what this is. Okay? But some people are speculating that it was, a weather balloon that was, went off course. It's like, that whole thing. And then we have the whole idea that it's capable of, an EMP attack on us. And so we have everybody jumping to major conclusions, but the bottom line is Wheels. And I'm no Trump supporter or anything, but if Trump was president, he would have blown that thing out of the sky and then made an amazing tweet like, sorry, China, to burst your bubble or something
Or
hilarious,
pop your balloon.
Yeah, like to burst your bubble, right? Hilarious. It would have been perfect. But like right now, how it looks to the world, and that's where I'm coming at it, it's like they're all just watching us like basically watch a balloon from a enemy country. We're all just sitting there watching it, and we're just like, there's the balloon. You know what I mean? So I could go so many ways on it, but
Yeah.
go
That's
ahead.
that's my point, is there are
Yeah.
so many angles you can look at it from. Like, to be honest, I when I like that is something I think about all the time, is how many everything that I look at and I want to talk about. I'm like, okay, but how many freaking, like, ways can you interpret this information?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Right.
people nowadays are
Mm-hmm.
people nowadays are quick to. I think maybe that's why, like, the hyper partisan media works so well, it's because people don't want to have to think about how many angles things could be coming
Mm,
from, and so they're just like, oh well, there's I don't know, CNBC that tells me this. That makes sense. I can look at this information from CNBC, and whatever.
yeah.
There's the narrative I'm gonna go with.
Yeah, I mean, the fact, hold on, I do want to say Frank wants to make sure that if he comes on, he's not he's going to refer to the Bible, but if that's going to be offensive to you, he won't come on. So I just
Oh
wanted to
no,
say that.
it's all good. I had no problem with people referring to the Bible. Not at
Yeah,
all.
and yeah, and the thing is that makes people say, like, kind of take a step back and be like, this is a distraction, is the fact that it is all over MSM, right?
Mhm.
And where the way I look at it, it's almost this could be the assassination of that archduke that was, the point at, what was that, World War One, Ferdinand, Archduke Ferdinand, who was assassinated during World War One. This could be a Pearl Harbor, event. I don't know. It's tough.
Okay.
It's
Actually, interesting that you say that.
yeah.
At work earlier today, I was talking to a couple people, and one of them seemed fairly awake,
Hmm.
and I was talking to this guy, and he was talking to me about how it looks like, somebody was saying, I don't remember who, because I was kind of in like the middle of work mode,
Sure.
but he was saying how it's likely that like the US government is trying to find a way to have war with China within the next 2 years, but they manufacture so much of our stuff that it's going to be a problem. And then, and like, how many different ways that China can screw with us. And then
Yeah.
I started thinking, and I even said this to him. I'm like, well, wouldn't that fit absolutely perfectly into Agenda 21? Wouldn't that?
Hmm.
Like, think about that for a second.
Yeah.
All of our electronics, like, how many electronics do you think are coming from China? Like, not all of them, but quite a lot of them. Quite a lot of our things that we rely on very heavily, electronics, even clothes, just like so many things come from China. And
Yeah.
if we were to be at war with China, we would probably lose access to all that stuff. And knowing China and knowing the narrative about China, they could put backdoors into things that stop them from working, maybe. Or at least that's maybe the narrative that's being set up.
Right.
Plus,
And
you
also
have.
part of that narrative, Wheels, is the whole idea that that we started a chip war with China back, what was that, like 4 or 5 months ago?
I
Y-
believe so.
Yeah. So we already kind of started this whole, like, I don't know. They're setting the stage for something, but I don't know
You know,
what it is.
China could also, yeah, Wheels. I liked what you said. Hi,
Hey
Mary.
Frank.
How are
Hey
you?
Frank. Good.
How you doing? Good. Wheels, how you doing?
Not bad, bro.
Good. Good to hear your voice again, both of you. What you said on China. Another thing they can do is, you made a great point about how many things they have their backdoor into. What if they start crashing the cars? What if they start crashing airplanes? What if they just start hacking into stuff and causing chaos? That's another end of it too. They don't have to completely shut things down to cause complete chaos and have people lose trust in the things going on here. Backdoor their way in and just wreak havoc.
That's very true, and that's kind of what I would. That's why I mentioned the back doors, because it could be any level of messing around. And of course, if you listen to a lot of World Economic Forum stuff, which you know very well, Mary, I have been listening to freaking World Economic Forum stuff and wanting to just I don't know
Yeah.
why. I've been procrastinating on making something about it too. But so with the World Economic Forum stuff, you notice over the past couple years how they were saying cyber attacks are the new front, and cyber attacks are the new pandemic, and like all this stuff about cyber attacks. Plus, if you've been following tech news recently, T-Mobile just got hacked, and all of a sudden, all these companies are getting hacked, and they're having data breaches and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if maybe that's going to fit into the narrative. Eventually, what's going to justify the whole real heavy Great Reset of oh well, now China has the backdoors in so many of these things that are used in offices. It's going to be really hard to get it's going to be hard to get your money out of your bank account. Maybe it's going to be hard to keep any of your data safe. Maybe there's all number of things that could be messed up. So maybe eventually the UN or whoever will step in, and they'll be like, wait, if we can't agree on if we can't agree to stop the cyber warfare, then we need to take over the internet, stop this from happening, or something like that, where all of a sudden you're going to start seeing that kind of World War III scenario, and then all these international governmental bodies being like, this needs to stop, and we're going to start doing it our way. What if that is a potential angle they might try?
Yeah, the internet thing always gets me. It's a tricky thing, isn't it? That we trust the source. You know who runs the internet. Nothing's let out there unless they want it let out there. Period.
Yeah,
they have all the keys to it. Yeah. So a lot of us, and I'm not saying anyone here, but in general, the conspiracy theorists, because I'm not saying I do, Mary, I dabble in it. I'm not on it all the time because I found more questions than answers. But anyway, we trust the sources of the people giving the information for our information. Isn't that a catch-22? So all the things that we're using, and I'm not saying that there's not truth out there, what do you have to have a good lie is put 99% truth sometimes 1% truth. But we tend to trust the ones putting out the information and letting it go to use our information. That blows my mind.
Here's a thought for you. There's a lot of, if you've ever watched a magician and you've watched how they do certain things, a lot of the way that they do their quote unquote magic is by using misdirection. So they might give you, it might be a lot of truth, but they might try to push you in a certain direction with it.
Exactly. It's a good call. And the other side of that too is I see all the mainstream and I'm saying I don't trust them either, but we've got to trust them so much that there is some truth being put out there, but now it's all being dismissed because no one trusts any of it. They've really set up a great way of confusing people, and we know who the author of confusion is. Mm-hmm. It's really just a roundabout chasing your tail in circles. More answers leads to 20 more questions. More answers, more questions, more answers, more questions.
Plus, we have a very large scale. Sorry if I cut you off.
No, you're good.
We have we kind of live in what I like to call a large scale abusive relationship.
Yeah,
some people compare it to an abusive childhood. Others compare it to an abusive relationship. But either way, it's a large scale abusive relationship, be it romantic or parental, whichever you feel fits it more, in the sense that what do abusers do? One of the things that abusers do is they force the victim to depend on them. And then they also gaslight. They gaslight. So everything is gaslighting. So you know how during that whole thing in 2020, how they had conflicting information coming out every other day. It was you would once in a while, or even just anything. Just look at anything. With it, just any mainstream narrative, you're gonna find an article that confirms it, and then you're gonna have maybe one article, or 5 articles that confirm it, and then maybe one article that's oh yeah, but look at this, and then that's gone, and then one study that says something, and then the next day you gotta find it's gone. but it
Yep.
was out there. They put it in your mind, and then they take it away from you. Then you start like looking like, okay, I want to wake my friend up to geoengineering or the climate change thing or whatever. So you go and you go to find that study that confirms like what you were saying, and it's gone.
Yep.
And
Truth.
then, or
Yeah.
even if it's not gone yet, or even like look at the way that they handle the World Economic Forum. Like, it's all everything that the World Economic Forum says, you just go www.weforum.org, right? You can find everything that the World Economic Forum says. They don't go out of their way to hide it. They don't put it behind a wall. It's just there. You just know, okay, I'm going to go to www.weforum.com and find all this stuff. But you go, and then you Google it, and it's right there. You can get to it easily. But first, there's like 5 fact checkers. No, the World Economic Forum didn't say that they were going to put chips in your brain. That's just conspiracy theories. And those conspiracy theorists said that. But, of course, yeah, they said that they were going to monitor your brainwaves eventually, but they didn't say right now.
You're
You
right.
really want your mind blown? Go look into the documents of released information and like in the House, the Senate bills passed. It takes hours and hours and sometimes weeks to come up with information, but you want to find some really scary stuff. Peer through there for a week. Just pick something that you're interested in one of those topics like CIA.org or the Senate or the House, and go peer through the things that they're releasing and that they're passing without telling people, and the truth they
Right.
put right there. But nobody goes to look. Sorry, Mary.
No, I sorry, that was rude. Me saying all right. It's like I'm trying to take my notes and not interrupt people. But
No, please do. I'm interrupting you. This is your show.
no, not at all. You're my guest, and if you're at my house, I'd offer you a nice cup of tea. But unfortunately, you're not.
I got
But
it. So
go ahead,
let's
Leo.
let's ask what are your thoughts on this so far, Mary?
Okay, I have to go back to the control of information. Everything that anybody says, I either agree or disagree with. So, you guys were talking about the control of information. And, right now, what we use as the standard is media, basically. It doesn't matter what kind of media, just media, even if it's alternative news sources. That's always been the way. When you guys were talking, all that kept going through my head is there's nothing new under the sun here, because I mean, there's always been this fight, not even a fight, but we are in a new generation where there is kind of a fight over the control of information. All throughout history, yeah, all throughout history, it would just be your one source. And I think that's why they burnt down the library at what the hell was that place? But anyway,
Alexandria.
Thank you. Beautiful manuscripts, all burnt to the ground. It was, a huge library. They wanted to control the information. And I think it's nothing new. And we're just like every other generation that ever walked the planet in that regard. As far as the World Economic Forum, I will say the good news is that they have had to change a little bit the way that they discuss things because people are onto them. People don't want to hear the BBB plan. People don't want to hear the what's the other thing? The great, reset plan. People are over it. Those are already trigger words. So people are waking up. I know I'm probably a little optimistic here, but go ahead. Sorry, gentlemen.
It's all good. I don't disagree with your point that this is not new. It seems new because it's happening on a larger scale. In the older days, you had, let's say, the town orator. You might have been walking around in a Roman square and you heard a guy saying, "The King of Rome said," whatever.
Sure.
And then, you know, we got a little bit further along, and there was TV, and TV primarily, if I'm not mistaken, in the beginning it was like local channels. You could get like things that were going on in your town from the perspective of locals. They quickly took that over. And then it became, oh, now you have to pay for cable. You can't see what the local people are putting together. Now it's these big multinational now it's these big corporations. And then and then you had TV commercials are showing up, and then, now TV is what TV is. And I don't think people are looking, I mean, people that might have gone out of their way to learn the history of tech, or might be older or whatever, might remember some of that stuff. And I don't know how true this is. I'm just going off of what some older people have told me and what I have learned from like YouTube channels that I watch about old technology, because I enjoy that stuff. But I think a lot of people, first you have to understand that there are a lot of people that are having these conversations now that are like my age. People that grew up with the internet. People that grew up with all of this stuff. It was the new frontier. And even though there's nothing new under the sun a lot of the time, this is new to our generation, and our generation sees what TV looks like, and we don't want it. We see what TV look like. We see what commercials look like. We see a lot of us see the fact that, like, let's say most of our news and like a lot of our TV channels, what is it, 4 corporations now? So some people,
very few.
Yeah, so some people are probably looking at that situation and thinking, even though they might kind of intuitively understand that this has been going on throughout history, they're kind of looking, or at least I'm looking back at it as this is a cautionary tale. The fact that the orators were bought off and they weren't allowed to say anything, or the fact that the media was bought off and they weren't allowed to say anything nobody wanted. You had your Operation Mockingbirds. And all that stuff.
Sure.
It's just people are looking at that, and yes, to younger people who may not have studied the history of how things were controlled throughout time, might look at this and think this is a new thing. What I'm more concerned about, though, personally, is the technology they are using to control things, not necessarily
That's
the
a
fact.
whole different topic. Hold on. I think Frank had something to say before we go down the rabbit hole too far.
It's real quick. It's the whole there's nothing new under the sun. Yes, true. But we also got to remember that we're entering a time where it's going to be like any other time before. So there's going to be things new that even if we look into the past, things that have happened, there's going to be, and I'm not calling what is or what isn't, there's going to be things that have never happened and no one has ever seen, ever. And I think we got to keep that in mind as well. With the TV thing, I mean, you're dead on. And I think take apart the back of your TV and don't dabble too much into it. And you can take my word to it if you want. They match up with ancient sigils and symbols of demonic things that go through the airwaves. Who's the prince of power of the air? And it's all a progression. Would you start with phones, TVs? Now, what do we have? The internet. Now, Satan can't physically create, can he? But he really created his own world with this internet thing. And the amount of wickedness, because I think Mary remembers as well. I don't know how old you are, Wheels. I think how old are you, Wheels? If you don't mind me asking.
I'm in my 20s.
Okay, so, and that's not about you don't know anything because of your age. It's just looking back wise. I remember a time with no internet. I remember a time of not having cell phones. And I've seen the evil increase and the way people have become since the creation and up until now. It's sped up 100 times. And I got to say, I know we use these for the good, for the things we can do. But there's going to be a time we got to get off this internet. This thing, it is evil. Period. What's the first place of persecution? I don't want to go down too far that rabbit hole. Maybe that's for another night.
I don't. So I don't want you to think, Frank, that I would think that, when you asked my age, I didn't take it that way at all, because
He's age shaming you.
I
It's
do
age shame.
yeah, you age phobic, sir?
No, no.
But
But before I
my
say those things,
thought
like
my thought
sometimes I
process.
ask, and I
Sorry.
deal with, like, on Discord. Mary will tell you, there's a lot of people I deal with in between, like, the ages of like 18 and like 28. And sometimes when I ask that question, their first reaction would be, so maybe I have a little PTSD from it. It would be, well, what are you trying to say? I don't know anything. I'm young. So I just wanted to clear that first.
Anyways,
No,
I'm a
I
boomer, so don't worry
I
about it, Frank.
understand. I understand. So, like, what I was getting at with that, though, is I recognize that because I am younger, and I'm younger than a lot of the people in the truth community are in general. I also understand that I have some limitations with being younger, in that I don't have as much of a frame of reference for what the world used to be like as, say, you or Mary or Mike, whoever, that's older
I think
than
the
me.
fact that you acknowledge that is a step in the right direction, and you're going. I love hearing you speak, man. I do. And the fact that you even acknowledge that and you have that in your mind just is awesome. Because that you use that. You know that in the back of your mind. And a lot of people don't. So no, that's encouraging. That's just awesome, man.
He's not going to euthanize us. Don't worry, Frank. We
So
got one on our side.
so what I tend to go. I don't know if you watch my channel at all, Frank, but my my thought process with how I am and how I carry myself in these communities is knowing that there will always be a lot that I don't know. And my whole goal in life is to take big that big like chunk of ignorance that I have and make it a little smaller every day.
Amen.
Mm.
That's what I do.
Amen.
I acknowledge my ignorance. I acknowledge my limitations, be it age, be it time, be it anything, knowledge. And if I know that I'm ignorant on something, if I know that I am weak in an area and it's pointed out to me, then I will go out of my way to get a better understanding of the things that I feel like I need to learn about.
Yep. I know I met you on a Christian Discord, and I don't want to, and I'm not, do you have beliefs in that aspect? I do want to ask that because I know I met you there, and it's fine if you don't. And I asked that for a reason.
Plead
Either
the
answer is
fifth.
fine.
Yeah,
This is
I
getting
tend
deep.
to I tend to not throw my beliefs out there too
Gotcha. No
much,
problem.
because I tend to. So another thing with it that I think is different, like I'm a very spiritual person. So
Gotcha.
one of the things that I think comes up is I let people look at my example and ask me based on, like, so for example, when people ask me about, like, let's say my faith in God, it's not necessarily because I said anything about my faith in God, it's or what I believe about God. It's because they've looked at my example and they're like, how are you so calm through all of this crazy stuff, or how do you stay positive about this or that? And that's how people find out what I believe in, because I live
Gotcha.
by the example of my principles.
Amen. Amen. And the reason I ask that is with the knowledge thing, there is one, and this is going to sound, I don't know how people are going to take this. We
Sorry.
can know anything going on at any time. And there is somebody who answers those questions if we wait. And you ask those questions, if you ask God, he'll tell you. Just got to wait on his timing. There doesn't have to be any running around. And when in his timing, he'll let you know. There's have to be any, what's this, what's that. He will tell you. Now, the trick would be sometimes he tells you things and you got to keep it to yourself because people are going to bash you if you bring it out and
Well,
Yeah,
disagree, and
exactly.
be like, no,
Sometimes
that's not right.
we do have to be careful to
And
not give people an opportunity to feel the need to defend their faith or
yes,
renounce it.
there you go. And that's another reason I asked you, because you are so calm, especially some of your age, man. And I'm not brown nosing you. It's always been awesome listening to you in that aspect. It's far above a lot of the people I talk to. Not greater as in, you know what I'm trying to say. It's just awesome.
yeah,
It's awesome to
So,
hear.
actually, for that, I will say that I am this way because I have experienced a fair bit of hardship, and I I don't come at things with a lot of like I do speculate on things, of course, but like I'm not gonna tell you something that I'm not reasonably sure about, and if I do it, then I tell you that I'm not sure about this, but this is what I think. And one of the things that I know for a fact is that I know that God provides and that he gets you through things, and I've lived through enough hardship, and I've gotten through enough things to recognize that everything works the way it's supposed to. I
Amen.
didn't think I would ever. I'll tell you what, I'm from I'm from New Jersey.
Yeah, we're neighbors
Yeah.
in that aspect. I'm PA.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, you're in one of the last like red states on, I
Mhm.
believe.
That's what it is now. I don't pay attention to it too much with the political.
Yeah.
All right.
But no, keep going. I'm
Hold
sorry.
on,
So
guys,
my
guys,
point
guys,
is
guys.
though,
Listen,
what-
it's all very beautiful what you guys are doing, but once I'm demoted to talking to people in
Yes.
chat, I
I'm
do have
sorry.
to step in. All right. Sorry. And also, I did lose connection there. I don't know if you heard what I said, but
I
it's
don't
probably
think I
best if
did.
you
I'm
didn't.
sorry.
Honest. I think that God protects me by making me lose internet connection when I'm saying something that's not the best. So, all right. Let us move on. Next topic. Okay. No, I'm not trying to be rude, but I
No,
don't want
no,
people
No,
to
I
feel like they're
understand.
getting
no explanation needed.
personal.
Let's do it.
No explanation at all. Thank you.
Okay.
No, nothing.
So another thing that has been going on in, the crazy world that we're living in. Wheels and I have been going back and forth, and it did all start with not his stupid, but the video on the what is it? The economic forum.
The
Yeah,
World Economic Forum. Yeah.
yeah. So then we went down the rabbit hole, and I know Wheels, you want to do your own live on this, and that's great. Oh, Frank left.
I will eventually, but you know what? We can talk about it now too, because to be honest with you, I've been, there have
Okay.
been some things going on, and I was like sort of every time I feel like I need to sit down and do that live, something stops me, be it somebody
Oh.
showing up at my house or whatever. And so finally the other
Mhm.
night I was just like, all right, well, maybe this is in God's time. Is there information that I'm going to find out or a way that I'm supposed to put this that's better? Cuz that's how I take it when something stops me from doing
Oh my
covering a
gosh,
topic.
I've been shooting my mouth off about this whole thing. Okay, so when it started with that one video, and then I had to go down the rabbit hole, and it's not even a rabbit hole. I guess this is just like normal nowadays. I went into the AI thing, I went into the bot thing, I went into the robotics thing, and I started being like, okay, what the heck is going on here? So I did sign up for Chat GPT, and I did have to give my phone number. I always say I'm part of the problem. Okay, guys, I do. But I signed up for that thing. It's crap. It's garbage. I had to correct it so many times. And literally on one thing I had to correct it on, it could have killed somebody because I asked the chatbot, I was like, okay, so do you talk about like really advanced things or can you talk about basic things? And it's like, I can talk about anything. So I said, all right, let's go basic. First, I started with gardening. Then I went into like, everybody's on there being like, is Jesus Christ our Lord and Savior? Everybody's going on there. Is there a God? Everybody's being esoteric, not esoteric, but anyway, everybody's going either there or they're like,
Existential.
exits, thank you. Or they're being like, how to make me rich? How can I get rich? What's the best stocks? I wanted to test the bot on basics. So the first one I had to correct it on several times was gardening, because these are the things I know. Then I did basic trivia and it got all those wrong. That I even corrected the bot and I was like, yeah, no, MacArthur did meet Patton, you know?
Man, don't
So
correct the bot.
no, it made me mad. So the thing that really, really upset me, I said, okay, let's do basics, bot. How do you can ground beef? Now everybody knows who's a homesteader, which I'm not. I wish I were. I'm a homesteader poser, but canning ground beef is kind of dangerous. Okay. So it laid out all the instructions for me on how to can ground beef, but it missed the most important step, which is adding boiling water. And I was like, no, in part 2, you forgot to say that you had to add boiling water. I know this is ultra boring for everybody, but it's just the whole point that the bot is an idiot. It's nothing. It's crap. Google could do it better than this thing that everybody's saying is going to take over the world. And then so I started saying to Wheels, I was like, why is this what they're presenting to the people? Right? Oh, so hold on real quick, going back. So I did correct the bot and I was like, no, you forgot the part where you had to add boiling water. And it's just like, oh, I'm sorry. Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, no, you could literally kill somebody with these instructions. So, anyway, the long and the short of it is it's worse than Google. I have no idea why everybody's like minds are bending over AI technology, because why is this what anyway, Wheels,
Can
you
I
know.
can
Go
I
ahead.
give can I give some thoughts on that? Because
I'm
like
getting
I said,
angry, please.
since my so here's kind of what happened, and one of the reasons I'm sort of glad I didn't stream about this one night. So obviously this one morning before work, I find this freaking World Economic Forum thing about brain reading earbuds or whatever the hell, and I'm listening to it before work, and just going, what the fuck? I have to stream about this. This is terrible. Like whatever. And then I go to stream about it, and my friend shows up. But then it gave me, but like the whole day after I watched that stuff, I'm sitting there kind of chewing on it, and I'm like, okay, but there's so many angles you can take with this. Jesus. So then I'm like, then I started thinking, because I was already before I saw the World Economic Forum thing, I was going to stream on another concept that I thought was similar to it, and I was going to call the stream the deification of abusers. And
Oh,
I want to explain what I mean.
yeah.
If you've ever been in a really abusive situation, like a situation you don't feel like you can get out of, you'll start to feel like the person that is keeping you in that situation is all powerful almost. Like more powerful than they ever could possibly be. Like you feel like they have all consuming power over you. And I already called the system that we live in a large scale abusive relationship. So how much of this is just people giving these people, like, people thinking that these people have power over us now that they don't really have, and then the media feeding into that by saying, oh my god, and all these like kind of shills feeding into it and being like, oh my god, this AI can do all this stuff and you're gonna lose your job and oh, you're screwed. So I'm just thinking, like, what if people are just unknowingly, like, what if that's how people's learned helplessness is manifesting, and they're kind of almost deifying these people and this technology, thinking that it's capable of things they that it isn't, because they're so scared, because everything is so scary right now, and the constant bombardment of this scary thing and that scary thing, and people just feel so helpless that they're almost treating the quote unquote elites like gods, if you hear the way that some of these people are talking about them. That's my
Mm.
that's one of my angles that I got when I was just sitting there chewing on that after listening to the World Economic Forum.
I think Frank has something to say on that.
AI. I think it's dangerous.
It is.
I think it's shifted. I think it's presented in ways to have some people discredit it. I think it's also
Yes.
shifted in ways to have some people think it's more than it is. I believe that it's snuck. You know what I mean? It's okay. Instead of worrying about them taking the jobs, the real function of this thing, what's it going to do? What is the real goal of all this coming to a front? What is the real people they're going after? What are the real ones they're going to persecute? Everyone else is just going to fall in line that we read, right? If you read the Bible,
Sure.
that's just what happens. So there's this interesting passage in Matthew where it talks about getting taken up to synagogues and persecuted and getting jailed. And it says, "It shall turn to you for a testimony. And think not beforehand what you are to say, and you'll be given the words right there." I think you've read that scripture, right, Mary?
Yeah,
What
of
is it?
course.
What is it? It shall turn to you for a testimony. What? Don't think of the word you're going to say. You know they have AI robots that can think of what you're going to say 3 seconds before you say it and print it out.
Yes.
So if we're going toward the end times, what these things are going to do, and you read these scriptures, what are these AI things going to do? You know, they can read your face and tell what religion you are, apparently. So everyone's focused on,
Oh, that's
hey,
so
the jobs.
anti-Semitic.
You
There's
know?
only certain religions you can do that with.
Yes.
That's,
I mean, I think there's things living inside these things. I think there's things inside the stuff that they're letting in. I think this stuff is out of control. I think they can control it. The first time Google made 2 AI machines, they dropped them in the bottom of the ocean because they made their own language and they couldn't interrupt them.
So
You can
this is
still
the
find
thing,
that
Frank.
article.
This is where I'm at. What they are presenting to the masses for entertainment, basically, is this GPT. All right. And the thing is so flawed. And so we're playing with it. It can write fan fiction, as I said, because I had my daughter try it out on my device, just to see, like, maybe I'm just too old. Maybe I don't get this whole like AI thing. So she went and she was trying to do like fanfic for like Spider-Man and Star Wars and stuff like that. And the thing kept losing the plot. And even my daughter was getting frustrated. She's like, this is frustrating. I said to elaborate, and it started the whole story again. So what they're putting out in front of us right now as AI isn't what AI actually is.
There you go.
And it's a false sense of almost security for
There you
people
go.
that are like, it's going to take our jobs. It's way more advanced than we could ever be. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yep, I do. I do.
Yes.
And I think it's advanced in other ways that we're not thinking. Like you said, it's being presented as this false thing and people are looking the wrong direction. I agree with you. And just the fact that it gets you frustrated, that should say enough.
Everything gets me frustrating.
Well, not you in
Opening a
general, but
bag
you know
of
what I mean.
chips could get me frustrated.
Just it's mind blowing. I think you know that these things can also over in the UK they have these rolling blackouts where you have to turn your power off.
Oh yeah,
You
they
only get
have
power.
those in South
Do you know who's
Africa
controlling that?
also.
Do you know who's
Yes.
controlling that? Remember the smart meters put in for every house?
Yes.
You know AI does that. It's not the
Mm.
companies. It's not the companies doing
Yeah,
it.
but is that AI or is that just an alarm clock? Because I have grow lamps in my garage right now that are on a timer, and they
AI.
turn on and off when I want them to.
That way
So
the people can't do it themselves. Like you could right now, us here in America, if we look outside the scope, we could do things. We're still pretty free in the things we could do, right?
yeah,
The AI is actually, if you're looking at who's behind AI and the things I think are behind AI, that's just me. And the things I
sure.
think that are living behind AI and what they could turn on and off, what they could sink into, what they could tell. I just think that they're doing a lot more. 5G, I believe, was put in for AI. You couldn't run without
Oh,
5G.
absolutely. So many things. Go ahead, Will. Sorry.
Go ahead, Wilson.
Well, yeah, to start off, for sure, it is like the Internet of Things. Without 5G, the Internet of Things would not be able to be a thing. So if you think your smart fridge and your whatever else. I don't know why the fuck people are putting smart fridges in. Do you really
I know,
need?
right?
Do you really need your
Screwed.
refrigerator to tell you, hey Frank, you gotta go buy eggs. Go buy eggs, Frank.
That's the sad part. People do because they don't think for themselves. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, my point is that what you're talking about here with, people worrying about it taking their jobs, that could also be a form of, like, remember what I was talking about with misdirection. Get people to look in a different direction. It's not about jobs or any of that stuff. People are putting in the, like, Terminator narrative in people's heads, but it's really about just, more automated control of, like, oh, that person had their meat ration. Make sure you don't deliver the meat over to house 504 over in Boston.
Oh, Wheels, you are blowing my mind. Go ahead. Sorry, I just got super excited because I never considered that angle.
That's what that to me is what it looks like. It's going to be more like that. And what is the IoT if it's not just a way to watch people? Like, if it's not just artificial omniscience, they can't. They wanna play God down here. So of course they're gonna be, like, installing things to watch and listen to us all the time. Because isn't that what, they can't actually do it, but they can get their little AI to, like, pull a bunch of data maybe, and they can have somebody able to watch and listen to us all the time, and that makes them feel like God, or
But
that makes whatever they're bringing over here feel like God.
they just like you would catch a drug kingpin cartel member or something. They don't have to listen in to everything you say. All they got to do is have a computer listen. You say certain keywords, then they go alert, alert, start listening. So when it comes to that, pretty soon, and I'll go back there again. If I say the word Jesus, where do you think that's going to go?
Yep. So that was kind of my point about the pulling the data thing.
Yeah, you have a good point.
Oh.
Go ahead, Mayor.
Oh, I just wanted to add. So you guys have heard about people hoarding, right? Hoarding. And this gets into another whole thing going on right now with all the food recalls and the shortages. There's, as I said to Wheels when he first came on, there is so much going on. What do we even talk about? And I know, Frank, there's only one important thing to talk about, but
Well,
anyway,
no, you're good. Just because it's that doesn't mean you can't put other things. Don't worry about me. You're good.
So, like, I do know that there are people that have, like, freezers and freezers full of meat. So if there's a smart, like, freezer, for example, and it can see what the person has for meat, and, like, guys, do you understand that, like, people will be like, oh, they're hoarding, that's not right, they're taking from the rest of us in order to provide for themselves, whether it was free game catch, whether it's something anybody would eat, like a rabbit or a squirrel. Go ahead.
No, I'm talking behind you because that's a great point. They would know what you have. Mary, keep going with that.
Well, Wheels is the one who said it.
Wow, that's yeah.
Yeah,
is
you
both.
kind of expanded a little bit, because I was talking about how I was gonna actually go ahead and add more, because I remember I started working I worked at a store, I worked at a store for a couple years. I started working there in, like, 2018, and they had these Samsung smart fridges. And, the joke that I just made about, the fridge letting you know, Frank, Mary, eggs, whatever. And but the point is that it has
It's
a camera.
funny you chose eggs, Wheels, but go ahead, please.
I know, because I had just spent how much of my last stream bitching about eggs, and then I watched the video you sent me, Mary. So But anyway, so the point is that like those fridges are not only connected to the internet at all times, as in, but they also have cameras in them. So you can actually look at your phone. You can actually go ahead and open the app on your phone and see what's in your fridge and your freezer. Meaning that, and you can see it from anywhere, meaning that's connected to the internet, meaning that is going to a server somewhere that could potentially also be, you know, harvested from by AI, that, you know, enough feed gets to a certain place or an office, or maybe there's like a little ticker that says, okay, a person can have, let's say, 2 dozen eggs in their fridge at one time, or 3 pounds of meat in their freezer, or whatever it is. And then Frank goes and buys 4 pounds of meat, but he eats one. So, okay, there's 3 pounds of meat. And then he's like, oh, well, it looks like there's going to be a shortage soon. So he gets more. And then that AI shows whoever that, oh, there's 4 pounds of meat in there. Let's watch him and let's
Yeah,
cut
and
him
not
out.
all meat is equal, because if I kill a couple roos and a couple hens and I shove them in a freezer, it's like I've paid to acquire those
Wait, did you say
hens.
ruse? Did you say kill a ruse? You killing kangaroos?
Roos. That's
Okay,
what we
sorry,
call them.
I'm only joking.
Yeah, no, that would be sad. I would never do that.
I'm
Actually, I
only
don't
kidding,
kill.
Mary.
I don't kill anything, to be honest. My husband takes care of the dirty work of, original sin for men. I'm not doing that.
Anyway,
But so it's like I fed them until they reach the age of maturity, and then they have to be kind of killed, unfortunately. And then if I put those in my freezer, and I'm only allowed to have, what was it, Wheels? You said 4 pounds?
Or
And so
3 pounds in my
3
example.
pounds. So now all of a sudden I have 10 pounds, and my smart refrigerator is going to be like, yo, hoarder, she's hoarding meat. It doesn't matter how I acquired it. And that's why, we could go crazy down the rabbit hole
the
here.
smart refrigerator goes to the government. Now the government's showing up at your house, taking the other 7 pounds of meat you got, saying you can't have 10 pounds of meat. What's wrong with you?
Well, we've seen that before, Frank. Like, it's
Yep.
not that crazy. We saw them confiscate gold and silver. So
Yep.
all these things have a precedent, but I don't want to end tonight giving people an anxiety attack.
Can I
What's
add
the
to that
good
to
news?
not have an
What's good,
anxiety attack?
guys?
Okay, so I would say, because I always try to like, I think I always try to have like some kind of like positive note. So I guess the other thing that we have to pay attention to is we have to make sure that no matter what we see right now, we have to make sure that we are not so overburdened by this stuff that we burn out and give up. Because the second that we accept that this is the way, and it could be the end times, we could be 7 years, 5 minutes, 2 months away from the rapture. But that doesn't mean that we, or whatever, it could be some kind of apocalypse coming. But that doesn't mean that we have to give up and
Amen.
accept what is. And
Mhm.
that doesn't mean that we have to accept, because I'm sure that plenty of other times in history, maybe during World War II, there was a bunch of people saying, oh, this is it. This is the end times. This is the whole, it's the end. Whatever. But like, no matter how bad it's ever been in the past, humanity has survived some serious trials and tribulations. And when it's time for that to not happen anymore, then that's it. We'll wipe ourselves out, or a rapture will happen, or whatever happens in our lifetime. But until the day that does happen, we should not just accept that, well, we're defeated, AI is here, or whatever. We cannot just accept that this is how things are going to be. We still have to fight for change, and it has to start in our communities. We can't let ourselves get distracted by all the bad news and all the stuff that's going on federally and all the stuff that's going on around the world. We have to be making people aware here.
Awesome. I'll add some positivity, and that was awesome, Wheels. It's, for one, don't be afraid of the word tribulation or trials. Our Savior Christ opens the seals. These things that are brought upon the earth and things that go are for us, not against us. And people don't realize that the righteous are protected. You may stand in it like they did in Egypt and see things happen around you. But it is said a few times in the Bible that the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous. And we know wealth in our case, maybe food or whatever, and the things they're hoarding, he takes care of his own. These things are done on the earth on account of the righteous, what the wicked do to them. This world is in travail and in birth pains, and we're being delivered home. Don't be afraid of anything coming. Know that the Lord's going to take care of his people and his own. And yeah, I'm going to get religious. Seek him. He takes care of everyone. These things are going to happen, but you're right, Wheels. Back in World War II, when Social Securities came out, they said it. When Social Security cards came out, people freaked out and said it was the mark. Lost their minds. And I'm not saying what is or isn't, but we see that these things are to bring us home and to punish the wicked, although they look like they're winning. They're not. And having young people in your generation, Wheels, speaking the way you do is very encouraging to me. I'm not saying I'm an old biddy and I'm going to go, but your generation is so important. And the ones under the Mary's children. And he's got it. We don't need to fear it. Keep a good head on your shoulders, no fear. Be sober-minded. And it's all going to be fine. It's going to be okay.
Yep. Saying that does get you shadow banned on the internet quite heavily, but I'm gonna keep saying it.
Sure. Thanks for having me up, by the way. And I appreciate talking to you guys and letting me speak and saying things I did. And Wheels, before we go, I do want to say, hit me up on Discord if you ever want to talk. I'm on there and we're friends. And I'm around for people who want to talk. Mary will tell you that. Any hour of the night that I'm around, just hit me up, even if you want to just go off and just need an ear. I mean that.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, sometimes I complain to Mary about Clownifornia. Sometimes I'm just like, these sheeple, they're driving me nuts. They're killing me.
I'm around too, so I extend that hand. And thank you, Mary, for having me on. Thank you, Wheels.
Thank you, Frank. Don't thank me.
Mary.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you again for having me on. I've been looking forward to this the whole week. And
I know. Wheels, we didn't even skim the surface. It's so frustrating, but next week there's going to be another like massive amount of stuff going on, and you're going to be like, I got to do a bunch of I got to put out this info, and I'm going to be, losing my mind
half the time. Like I'm trying to find a consistent day of the week. Like I'm thinking about maybe trying to stream on Mondays or something.
Yeah. Mondays are good.
If I can do that, because a lot of times just the random stuff I have going on in my life can get in the way. But
if you do it Mondays, I'll be there.
All right. Definitely. Yeah. Thank you, man. I'm gonna keep up with you guys, and I hope, Mary, we can do this again sometime, like where you can just maybe we can do that thing you were talking about where I just react to whatever random.
Oh man, Wheels. I do have one.
Next time.
Oh, darn it. It's amazing though.
Unless you want me to do it now.
No. It's fine.
All right.
It's fine. It's amazing, and I feel like it's ultra political. Hold on. Maybe I will.
Okay.
Just 1 second. 1 second. Oh, crap. Oh, hold on. Oh, the music's probably going to keep talking over the music, though.
Whoa.
You have to do this.
Whoa, and we see here, she's, what's she doing? She's falling. What's going
Lovely.
on? What do you think here, Wheels? What do you give her? What score do you give her here?
Well, in the words of the esteemed President Joe Biden, I say, come on, man.
It looked like she was going for a triple Let's flag grab, but you kind of back end the tail there. I don't know what to say about that.
Okay. So I will say that is something that I came across this week, and that is a trans person, and they identify as a woman, but they can't even skate. So why is this person out there? It's crazy.
Because they're allowed to be, and it's to be celebrated because they can. Sorry, that's it.
Anyway.
All right. On that note, though, I do have to get going, and it was
All right. Yes.
it was
Yes.
really nice to talk to you guys. I hope, again, I hope we can do this again sometime, Mary.
Definitely. Definitely.
Have a wonderful night. You too.
God
All
bless
right,
you,
too.
Wheels.
Good night, gentlemen.
It was
Thank you for-
fantastic to talk. It was fantastic to talk to you, and I hope I can be an ear for you as well. Bye.
Amen. God bless you, bro.
All right. God bless.
God bless.
So awesome. Mary,
Yeah.
you need to hit me up. I got a couple things I've been looking into that I want to talk to you
Oh,
about.
yes. Okay. Or just, message me.
Okay,
I'm
I will.
interested.
Well,
Definitely.
no, you're the one that has a schedule. I don't have any schedule. I don't have the children or a family or anything like that. So when you have time, just a couple minutes, it's something I want to put across your mind. Just think about something I found recently. So just
All
hit me up.
right. Awesome. Definitely. All right.
And
Thanks, Frank.
good night, guys. Thank you, chat, for bearing with me, and God bless you all.
All right. Thank you. Always. All right. So I wanted to thank you also for joining us tonight. And
I'm
I
not
made
a
you.
true fan. I wasn't here the entire time.
But I do want to thank you. I know that I kind of pressured you into doing it, and people are so like responsive and kind, and I hope you at least saw that. So anyway, she's tired. She has to be up. She had hockey.
I didn't know it was open ended. I thought we were just like. I was hoping for more compliments.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You're fabulous.
What about my grades at school?
Get out. All right, Slay Queen. All right. All right. So anyways, thank you all for joining us. I'm sorry for Singe. Singe is having an issue with his neighbor's dogs. It's terrible. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the chat tonight, but I'm sorry. It was a fun chat. So thank you all for joining us. And next week, Faye will be back, and I'm sure we're gonna have a whole new list of things going on in the world that we can talk about. So, all right, good night. God bless. Thanks.